Hey everyone, this is Miss Hu, your physics teacher. Now, what I'll be covering in this video is actually just the answer to this one particular question, because one of my students had asked me about the answer to this question, and in fact, he's not the only one. Several students have actually asked for the answer, not so much the answer, but to understand what's going on in this particular scenario. So because I keep getting asked about this particular question, I'm just making a video so that I can share it with all students and even other students who may have the same question. Or if you come across a similar question in the future, you know how to answer it. Now, this question is about relays. What is a relay? A relay is actually an electromagnetic switch. So if you know what a relay race is, like run, right? So a relay race is when one runner runs, passes the baton onto another runner, and then move on. So that means there's one being passed on to another. In this case, this is a relay switch. The purpose of this is to have one primary circuit start a secondary circuit. You can see from this diagram, these are two circuits that are completely separate. They're not touching each other. They're not connected. They're not part of the same circuit. However, this low voltage circuit, which is the primary circuit, I'll just write that over here very quickly. It's the primary circuit, or also known as the input circuit. This is the one where when you switch it on, it will cause the secondary circuit or the output circuit to be complete and will switch on whatever it's supposed to switch on. Oops. Now, this diagram is not complete in terms of the high voltage circuit, but it's okay. The question is not asking you about what's going on in the output circuit. It only wants you to explain why the contacts close. So what's this high voltage circuit? Just imagine there's something connected here, whatever, maybe to a motor, to a motor or to some other appliance. Okay, doesn't matter. There is another circuit here which needs to be completed when we switch this on. So how does the primary circuit cause the secondary circuit to be complete? We have over here the solenoid coil over the soft iron, okay, and there's a switch. To understand what's going on, you must first of all know what happens when current flows through a solenoid coil. So when you close this circuit and the circuit is complete, current will flow through this coil. And remember, anytime that current flows through a coil, it becomes an electromagnet. The coil becomes an electromagnet. The purpose of the soft iron here is to strengthen the electromagnet. So remember, okay, first things first, what happens is that the solenoid coil becomes an electromagnet. Then the next thing you look for, okay, once it becomes an electromagnet, what happens? It will cause the soft iron to be attracted. Now, not this soft iron. You can see here there's another piece of soft iron. This soft iron will be attracted towards the electromagnet. The pivot here is like a screw. That means that this is the point of rotation. So why the contacts close is because, okay, I've got this set up here. I'm just going to bring this here. So imagine now, okay, this L-shaped thing here, this L-shaped thing is one piece. When this part of the L-shape, this soft iron part gets attracted to the electromagnet, the pivot here will cause the L-shaped piece to be rotated. So it's going to rotate on the pivot, and then the soft iron is going to be attracted. Now watch what happens. The longer edge of the L is going to rotate and push these contacts to touch. So when the contacts touch each other, that closes the circuit to start the high voltage circuit. So the reason why we have relay circuits like this, there are many reasons. So in this case, the reason here is because we want the low voltage circuit to be able to start a high voltage circuit. Normally the circuits are separated for one, it's safety reasons, because if you put the switch directly here, possible that when you press the switch, and if let's say anything goes wrong, the circuit, the high voltage, high current could flow through the user instead. So for safety reasons, we usually keep this separate so that if this is faulty, we're only pressing this switch, we're not affected by the high voltage. So that's why normally we have a relay switch to separate the two. So, but anyway, that's not what the question's asking. Question's asking why the contacts close. So again, the reason the contacts close is because when current flows through the solenoid coil, the coil becomes an electromagnet. I'll write the answer here for your visualization. Okay, so when the switch is closed in the low voltage circuit, okay, current flows through the solenoid coil, which becomes an electromagnet. The soft iron edge on the L-shaped piece will be attracted to the electromagnet. Let me move my face out of the way so you can see the answer. Okay, will be attracted to the electromagnet, which will rotate on the pivot and push the contacts to touch. So I admit, yes, this answer is a little bit long. You don't have to write to this extent. But the reason why I'm writing it extra long is so that you, students who are watching this video, have a better understanding of what's going on in this particular relay. I'll put it in red so you can see, oh, that's the answer. All right, and that's all for this video. So hope you found this educational and helpful. All right, if you have more questions you'd like to ask, of course, please feel free to ask. I will answer if I can, if I have the time. But in the meantime, just subscribe so that you could get more notifications on more lessons, solutions, and exam strategies, as well as possible answers that are being discussed to any questions that may confuse not only you, but other students as well. Right? Happy studying and all the best for your examinations.